Okay, so next example, you're asked to find what is Vx, the scalar component of V in the I, and Vy, which is the scalar component of the V vector in the J, given that one vector U, which is 5i plus 10j, is perpendicular to the vector V, and you're given that the magnitude of V is 12. So what do we know about when vectors are perpendicular? How can we pull that piece of information into giving us an equation? We have two unknowns. We don't know Vx and we don't know Vy. So we need how many equations? We need at least two equations to solve this. So how are we going to get one of the equations let's start with the knowledge that they're perpendicular to each other. So that means, right, that 5 times Vx plus 10 times Vy equals what? If they're perpendicular. The dot product is 0. Okay, so that's the dot product of two vectors has to equal 0 if they're perpendicular to each other. So we get an equation, and we can say that 5Vx equals negative 10Vy. And let's get this in terms of Vx. So Vx equals negative 2Vy. Okay, we got one equation there. We didn't solve anything yet, but we have one equation for Vx. What can you now do with the magnitude now that you know the magnitude? If we know that the magnitude of that is 12, how can we plug it in?
Vx squared plus Vy squared equals 12 squared, 144.
Okay, that's our equation for magnitude of a vector. So we know that Vx squared plus Vy squared equals 144. So let's plug in here for Vx. Okay, so we're going to get 144 equals I did it the opposite way here on this page. Negative 2Vy squared plus Vy squared. I'm just going to plug in here the Vx. And we get 4Vy squared plus Vy squared. So we get 5Vy squared equals 144, and then we can solve for Vy. And it turns out to 5.37. Divide the 144 by 5, and then take the square root. Okay, so now we can plug that in here, and we get Vx equals negative 2 times 5.37, and we get negative 10.73. So if we wanted to now write that out, then we know that the vector V equals negative 10.73 in the I plus 5.37 in the J. If you were given this as a real problem, you would need to also add the units, but you weren't given the units. So whether it's 12 newtons or whatever, 12 pounds force, you would have to have the units there as well. But this would be your answer. Okay, we're going to move on to chapter 2.